Okay, so now we've done the front of a postcard, at least just a sample in the previous video. I'm going to show you how to create the backside. I really couldn't say if there's a front and a back to a postcard. There are two sides for sure. We've done the part that has the message. It could display a short message. The sample that I created is a very short message. There are other images that can be made or acquired that tell the message all at once. This one is basically, it's a vertical postcard. It's a poster, has lots of information. It probably originally was a poster. And we have others that are just photos that have opportunities that were presented in them that create for delivering a message. This one I could not just pop open. I have to go see it. And here it is. Very nice. I don't know if this just happened by happenstance or if it was purposefully created like that. The back of our postcard is just going to be the space where we can put information. We can write a message to somebody that will receive the postcard by mail. I'm going to open this image in a new tab just to get a little bit more of information. It's going to be the same size as the front. It's 4 by 6, or rather it should be 6 by 4. I'd like to say the width first and the height second. So 6 by 4, it's going to have an area for text, and then space for address, and a little suggestion there for the stamp. Rather than opening the template, I'm going to open up the file that I'm already working with for the assignment and zoom in a little bit to the bottom part, which will be the backside. I think that I need to open up my ruler, so that's Control R on a PC, Command R on a Macintosh. Let me switch these back to inches. I right clicked on the ruler. I see my inches again. I'm going to bring one of the rulers to land on top of the bottom template, so that marks this is where the back of the postcard ends. And if I remember correctly, well, there's not much to remember. There's going to be a box on the left side that's going to be open for text. On the right side we have a couple of rules. This blue is not really working for me because it's too dark to write on. So something that I can do, I can either get rid of it completely or replace it with something else on top. I can do that by going to the layer 1 copy layer. That is where the bottom of the postcard is being designed. I'm going to click on my move tool, right click, there's a layer 1 copy. I'm going to hold my control key on the PC and click on the thumbnail. That will select everything about the postcard so that I can do something with the selection in a second. If you're in a Mac, I do believe that is, let me look at my keyboard. It's going to be Option click. I can create a new layer by clicking that icon below there. You can always go to a layer menu and select new layer to create a layer. That's for folks not too familiar with Photoshop. Once that selection is made and I'm in a blank spot on top of the layer 1 copy, I can then bring in a lighter color to play with. I can do that by double clicking the foreground color icon. I know that I'm following a blue family, so I'll just get on the palette and look at the blues and select a light one, something that can be written on. Now that's what works with my card. Whatever the color scheme that you're using for yours, by all means stick to it. I have selected the color, it's now my foreground color. I can click on Edit and Fill. If I'm in the right layer, I'm on layer 2. Fill and Edit Fill, and that was File. and I don't want content aware. I just want the foreground color, which is my light blue, and click OK. I could have also selected the area and tell it to lighten the color, but I'm going to be doing some additional work on this layer as well. Now that it's made, I'm going to press Ctrl D to deselect, Command D on your Apple. I know that there's going to be a division along the middle. I'm going to bring in another ruler and drop it somewhere in the middle. You see how Photoshop stops at 4¼ inches, and that is going to be just halfway through the page, which is halfway through the postcard. I now have the areas that I can distinguish a little bit better. Let me give myself a little bit of an easier way to select some things here. I'm going to bring in another ruler from the top and drop it in at about 1/4 inch from the top. Same thing at the bottom. These are just going to be my safety marks, saying don't go beyond that. Do the same thing on the left and the right. Now on the middle I can make a separation here by drawing a rule, and by rule I mean a line. Lines in Photoshop are not what you might expect. There is not a direct tool that will really create a line that I'm aware of anyway. I've been using Photoshop for quite a while. And yes, there is a pen tool that I mentioned earlier, but this is mostly actually for curves. And it might help us a little bit, but not in this situation. What I recommend is that actually you use another tool. At the top, just below the Move tool, and we have the Marquee tool. I've used the rectangular marquee before. Let me use this one really quick right now. I can now draw really quick a space on the left side. That's going to be where the writing will go once a user comes in, and I'm going to fill this in with white. Edit, fill. I do have white selected as the background color. I can tell it right there, or I can just simply tell it do white. I can also say 50% gray, which I think is what we show on the template. So why don't I do that actually? It's gray, but it's kind of dark. We do Control Z to undo, and just stick with the original plan then. Do the white, edit, fill, and do the foreground color. Okay. On the right side, I'm going to draw a small box. Suggestion here for the stamp. Do the same thing, edit, fill, and fill it with the foreground color, which currently is white. And I can now add those lines that I was talking about. The Marquee tool, if I click and hold, I get a couple of selections. I have a regular Marquee tool, the ones that I just used for those boxes. Elliptical Marquee tool for circles and ovals, and then there's a single row Marquee tool. I do believe though that this is going to be just 1 pixel. It's not going to be thick enough, but hopefully you get the idea. What I'm going to draw is going to be a box. It's going to be a very thin, long box. I'm going to create a new layer. Rather than doing that, I'll just click on the icon here. That's my new layer, layer 3. And I want to draw black lines, so I need to have black selected. By the way, all this while, we have been working on a 4-color document, CMYK. If by this point you're still in RGB, please change your settings to CMYK for 4 colors. You can do that by clicking on Image Mode and then select CMYK. If you have been working on RGB all this time and suddenly switch to CMYK, you might see a shift in color, and hopefully we can correct the colors at some point, but we want to start in CMYK at all times when we're working on a print document. Back to the line, I'm on a blank layer. I'm going to draw, like I said, a very thin and long box. So thin that it's going to be, I'm sort of eyeballing there what it tells me is 0.003 3. It's going to be a very tiny one. Well, even if it's not tiny, I have made my selection. I'm going to tell it to edit and fill that area with the foreground color, which is currently black. I could also, like I said earlier, change it to just fill with black. I'm not sure if that's going to be rich black or if it's going to be just pure black. Rich black is a combination of all 4 colors, C, M, Y, and K, so it's black including black on top of that, plus the cyan, magenta, yellow. I'll zoom in a little bit, and I think that this line would work. I want to move it a little bit just to give it a little bit of a center feel to it. Rather than drawing this again, what I can do is on a PC I'm holding the Alt key and see how my cursor changes from a single arrow to a double arrow. That means that I can copy this by clicking and dragging. I clicked and dragged the whole thing. I really only want to click and drag the line, which is on layer 3. This right here is not going to let me. So, well, let's go for plan B. I'm going to select this line with the Marquee tool, rectangular marquee. I'm going to draw around it, selecting everything, including the blank space, which is transparent. You can tell on the icon and the thumbnail, that little checkerboard, that means that there's nothing there, it's transparent. If I tell it to edit and copy, it's going to copy everything, including the transparency, which equates to nothing. So it copied only the line. I'll deselect, press Ctrl D, edit, paste. Will then paste what I just copied, which is that line on its own. And I'm having the hardest time trying to just select that one line, layer 4. If I can't get it, I'll use the cursor keys. Well, I got it, and now I have one line. I'm going to try that one again using the Alt key, and I think that 3 lines is enough, but I'll give it 4. I'll press Ctrl 0 to see the whole area. A couple of other things that I can do is, well, you can write or type some text. You can use the text tool to type a message to somebody. I want to just sort of finish the design of this postcard by bringing in maybe another image of Dallas and putting it in the background somehow. Switching back to my browser, I'll use the Google search engine. And something that I think about when I think about Dallas, well, there's Reunion Tower, downtown. I'll click Reunion Tower. I don't want the address, I just want an image. I'll click on Images. Make sure that in the tools I select Creative Commons license. And here's one that we can use. This one is licensable, so it means that it's for sale. I'm not going to sell it. I don't want to get in trouble with the owner, so I think that they're mostly all licensable. So I'm just going to use it for class. I promise I will not sell this to anyone. I'll visit the area here. It's Wikipedia Commons, so this is a Creative Commons image anyway. I'll right click and copy this here just to save some time. If it'll allow me to copy the image, there it is. Go back to Photoshop, and I'm going to create a new file. Control N, file new is the same thing. Command N on the Macintosh. Control V as in Victor to paste. Here's the image. And just like we did before with the tool that selects just the area, I'm going to select the object selection tool, select the area here, cross my fingers, and sure enough it got the tower. It got a couple of extra things, but we can edit that by telling it to select and mask. I get the extra tools that tell me, well, now I can also add the area that was missing, which was the bottom. I think I can make this a little bit larger. the brush, and I think that I got most of it selected. I'll click OK, and I have a selection now. I'll click Edit and Copy. Control C is your shortcut. Going back over here, I'm going to find my way to this box. Right click, and that's on Layer 2. Press Control V as in Victor again to paste. And here is my area, or rather my image. I'll zoom in a little bit. Now this is something that would distract the user from writing on it. So I'm going to make it a little bit larger. I press Control T to do a free transform, make this larger, and just kind of fit it here in the corner. Maybe a little bit outside of the box. There you go. I'm going to make a selection in that box that I have. I could either draw it again or click on Layer 2. That's where the box lives. I'm going to use the Magic Wand tool that will select everything that's the same color. I'll click on the white box. It's selected everything that's white in there. I'll move on to Layer 5, which is currently where the image of the reunion tower is. I can create a mask, and now that's sort of cut off a little bit. This is still a distracting image. My intention is to use it as a background. So while I'm in Layer 5, which contains the image, I can click on opacity, bring it down from 100% to something lower, something that can sort of blend into the background. That's not too distracting. I'll press Control 0 to see how that is turning out. Control 0. And now I have the front of the postcard made. In the back I have basic elements that can be changed because everything is in layers, including an area to write that's got an image that could go a little bit lighter. It's at 20% right now. How about if I go to maybe 12? Once everything is done and I print it, I'll get a much better idea. Hopefully these tutorials help you guide your way to making a simple postcard. Basically, we're just creating images using Photoshop. They don't have to be like I said, a semester-long project. We can get this done fairly quickly. If you have any questions, please shoot me an email. Make sure that you save your work, save early, save often. File save, since this already has a name. This is on my desktop, and if you're going to be completing your assignment, well, one thing that I'm missing here, if I use the Move tool, I can bring in the final rule for the edge, the bottom edge of that postcard. I'll save it again since I made that change. Throughout the semesters, students have asked me, well, why are we using all these rulers? Won't that ruin the image once it's printed? And these are actually invisible. They're light blue, and they exist only in Photoshop. They will not print out. They are there for our purposes only. We can hide them at any time, we can get rid of them, we can change them. The only thing we can't do is change the color. It's already saved this. I'm going to minimize so that I can see what's going on. I can close this. For my searches, if you have completed your assignment, I've already shown you how to turn in the first part. This is basically, this could be the first part if you're only turning it in for the first time, even though it's got the front and back. I only need the one document. You would click on the name of the assignment, 2.1 postcard, and scroll toward the bottom, find browse your local files so that you can get the document. In this case, I just saved this one, and it's RC 1305 Week 2 F. Rodriguez. Make sure that try to have your name in the file name if possible. I'll click open. The system tells me that it will attach. If this is not what you wanted to, if you picked another file and you made a mistake, click on do not attach. That way it will just ignore it. I'll click OK. It took it off. But by all means, click on your browse, find the file, click open, and then hit submit. If you're still working on the assignment and you need some, or you have any questions, you want extra time, please click on the comments, make them here, and I will get the message when you turn in the assignment. And that is it for this tutorial.